In the dusty archives of the Riverside Historical Society, archivist Dr. Emma Richardson was cataloguing a collection of Victorian-era photographs when she stumbled upon something that would shatter her understanding of reality itself. The image before her showed the Whitmore family gathered around their dining table for Christmas dinner in 1895, a perfectly ordinary scene of Victorian domestic life. But as Emma examined the photograph more closely, she noticed something impossible. One of the children in the image was fading away, becoming more transparent with each passing day, as if time itself was slowly erasing their existence from history. This wasn't a case of photographic deterioration or chemical damage. The fading was selective, affecting only one figure while leaving the rest of the image pristine. More disturbing still, according to every official record Emma could find, the fading child had never existed at all. There was no birth certificate, no baptismal record, no mention in any family document. Yet there she was, captured in silver halide and glass, slowly disappearing from reality itself. The Whitmore family had been pillars of Riverside society in the 1890s. Jonathan Whitmore owned the largest textile mill in Massachusetts, and his wife Catherine was renowned for her charitable work and elaborate social gatherings. Their children, Thomas, Margaret, William, Catherine, and James, had all gone on to distinguished careers in law, medicine, and business. By all accounts, they were the perfect Victorian family. But the photograph told a different story. It showed 6 children, not 5. The 6th child, a girl of perhaps 10 years old, sat between her siblings with a gentle smile, her hands folded in her lap. She was dressed in the same formal attire as the rest of the family, her hair arranged in the Gibson girl style popular at the time. Everything about her appearance suggested she belonged in the scene, except for one terrifying detail. She was slowly vanishing. Emma's discovery of the photograph came with a collection of family documents donated by the estate of Margaret Whitmore Sullivan, the last surviving descendant of the family line. Among the papers was a leather-bound diary belonging to Catherine Whitmore, the family matriarch. The diary entries from 1895 painted a picture of a woman struggling with a grief so profound that it had begun to affect her grip on reality. "I set 7 places at the table tonight," Catherine had written on December 23, 1895. "Jonathan thinks I'm losing my mind, but I know she's there. I can feel her presence, hear her laughter mixing with that of her siblings. The others may not see her, but a mother knows. A mother always knows." The diary entries revealed that Catherine had been experiencing what she believed were visitations from a daughter who had died in infancy 8 years earlier. The child, whom Catherine had named Rose in her private thoughts, had lived only 3 days before succumbing to pneumonia in the harsh winter of 1887. But according to Catherine's increasingly frantic diary entries, Rose had somehow returned, not as the infant who had died, but as the child she would have been had she lived. "She grows more real each day," Catherine wrote on Christmas Eve. "Yesterday I could barely see her outline like morning mist in the garden, but today she sat with us at breakfast, laughing at James's jokes and helping Margaret with her needlework. The photographer is coming tomorrow for our family portrait. I've told him to prepare for 6 children, not 5. He thinks I'm mad, but I know what I see." The photographer in question was Ezra Blackwood, a renowned portrait artist who traveled throughout New England capturing the likenesses of prominent families. His business ledger, discovered decades later in a Boston antique shop, contained a disturbing entry about the Whitmore session. December 25, 1895, Whitmore family portrait. Most unusual circumstances. Mrs. Whitmore insisted on arranging seating for 6 children, though only 5 were present. During the exposure, I observed what appeared to be a 6th figure materializing in the empty chair. The resulting photograph shows clear evidence of this manifestation, though I cannot explain how such a thing is possible. I am returning half the fee and will not be taking any further commissions in Riverside. Blackwood never photographed another family after the Whitmore session. He sold his equipment and moved to California, where he worked as a farmhand until his death in 1923. In his personal effects, found after his passing, was a single photograph, a copy of the Whitmore family portrait with a note scrawled on the back. Some things are not meant to be captured on film. Emma's investigation into the Whitmore family history revealed a pattern of tragedy that had been carefully hidden from public view. The family had lost 3 children in infancy, between 1885 and 1890, all to diseases that were common killers of children in that era. But according to Catherine's diary, only one of these children, Rose, had returned to the family. The diary entries describing Rose's manifestation were both heartbreaking and terrifying. Catherine wrote about conversations with her deceased daughter, about tucking her into bed at night, about watching her play with her siblings in the garden. But these entries were interspersed with moments of clarity where Catherine seemed to recognize that what she was experiencing couldn't be real. "I know the others think I'm mad," she wrote on January 15, 1896. "I see the way they look at me when I speak to Rose, the way they exchange glances when I set her place at the table. But how can I explain what I see? How can I make them understand that love is stronger than death, that a mother's heart can call her child back from the grave?" The family's response to Catherine's condition was documented in letters between Jonathan Whitmore and his brother Samuel, who lived in Boston. These letters, found among the family papers, revealed a man struggling to cope with his wife's deteriorating mental state while maintaining the family's social standing. "Catherine's condition worsens daily," Jonathan wrote in February 1896. "She speaks constantly of Rose as if the child were alive and well. Yesterday I found her in the nursery, which has been empty for 9 years, arranging toys and clothes for a child who exists only in her imagination. The servants are beginning to talk, and I fear word will spread throughout Riverside. I am considering having her examined by a specialist in Boston." But before Jonathan could act on his concerns, something happened that changed everything. On March 3, 1896, Catherine Whitmore was found dead in the nursery she had been preparing for Rose. The official cause of death was listed as heart failure, but the circumstances surrounding her passing were deeply disturbing. According to the housekeeper's testimony, Catherine had been found sitting in a rocking chair, holding what appeared to be an infant in her arms. But when the authorities arrived, there was nothing there. Catherine's arms were empty, yet her face bore an expression of perfect peace and contentment, as if she had finally been reunited with her lost child. The death of Catherine Whitmore marked the beginning of the end for the family's time in Riverside. Jonathan, unable to cope with the memories that haunted every room of their grand house, sold the property and moved the family to California. They never spoke publicly about the events of 1895 and 1896, and the family portrait was packed away, forgotten for over a century. But the story of the fading child was far from over. Emma's investigation revealed that the photograph had continued to change even after it was stored away. When she compared the image to a copy that had been made in 1896, she discovered that the mysterious sixth child had become significantly more transparent over the decades. It was as if the passage of time was slowly erasing her from existence. This discovery led Emma to contact Dr. Michael Harrison, a forensic photographer who specialized in analyzing historical images. Dr. Harrison's examination of the photograph using advanced digital imaging techniques revealed something that defied scientific explanation. The fading child wasn't simply becoming more transparent. She was actually losing molecular cohesion within the photographic emulsion itself. "What we're seeing here," Dr. Harrison explained, "is a gradual breakdown of the silver halide crystals that form the image, but only in the area occupied by this one figure. It's as if the photograph is selectively forgetting this person existed. I've never seen anything like it in 30 years of forensic photography." Dr. Harrison's analysis also revealed another disturbing detail. The rate of fading had accelerated dramatically since the photograph had been removed from storage and put on display at the Historical Society. It was as if exposure to light and human observation was somehow speeding up the process of erasure. Emma decided to delve deeper into the history of the Whitmore house, hoping to find clues that might explain the mysterious phenomena. The house had changed hands 17 times since the Whitmores left in 1896, and each family had reported strange occurrences that seemed to center around the dining room where the original photograph had been taken. The Patterson family, who lived in the house from 1898 to 1902, reported seeing the figure of a young girl in the dining room, always sitting in the same chair where the fading child appeared in the photograph. The girl would vanish when approached, but not before family members caught glimpses of her sad, pleading eyes. The Hendersons, who occupied the house from 1903 to 1907, experienced even more disturbing phenomena. Their daughter, Emily, claimed to have regular conversations with a girl named Rose who lived in the dining room. Emily would set an extra place at the table for her invisible friend and would become upset when her parents tried to remove it. "Rose is very sad," Emily told her mother. "She says her family forgot about her and left her behind. She's waiting for them to come back, but they never do. She asks me to help her find them, but I don't know how." The most chilling account came from the Morrison family, who lived in the house from 1920 to 1925. Their son, David, was just 5 years old when the family moved in, but he immediately began talking about the sad girl who lived in the dining room. Unlike the previous families, the Morrisons decided to investigate their son's claims. Mrs. Morrison's diary, found among the family papers donated to the Historical Society, documented their attempts to communicate with the entity. David insists that the girl wants to show us something. He says she keeps pointing to the wall behind where her chair used to be. Yesterday, I decided to humor him and examine the wall more closely. To my amazement, I found a loose panel that concealed a small hiding place. Inside was a collection of items that clearly belonged to a young girl, a locket, a diary, and several photographs. The diary found in the hidden compartment was written in a child's handwriting and bore the name Rose Whitmore on the cover. The entries, dated from 1895 to 1896, provided a first-person account of the events surrounding the family photograph. "Mama can see me now. It took so long for her to notice me, but finally she knows I'm here. I tried so hard to come back to them after I died. I didn't want to leave my family. I love them so much. Mama sets a place for me at dinner now, and she talks to me just like she used to when I was a baby. Papa and my brothers and sisters can't see me yet, but I know they will soon. We're going to have our picture taken tomorrow, all of us together. I'm so excited to finally be part of the family again." The diary entries continued after the photograph was taken, but they grew increasingly desperate as Rose realized that her manifestation was temporary. "The picture man could see me. I know he could, because he looked right at me when the flash went off. But afterwards everyone acted like I wasn't there again. Even Mama started to forget about me. I tried so hard to stay, but I can feel myself getting weaker. It's like I'm fading away, becoming less real every day. I don't want to go back to the dark place. I want to stay with my family." The final entry in the diary was heartbreaking in its simplicity. "I'm disappearing. I can see through my own hands now. Mama died today, and I think that was the only thing keeping me here. Without her love to hold me in this world, I'm going back to where I came from. I hope someday my family will remember me. I hope they'll know that I tried so hard to come back to them." Emma's discovery of Rose's diary provided crucial insight into the nature of the photographic anomaly. It suggested that the fading child was not simply a photographic error or supernatural manifestation, but the result of a mother's love so powerful that it had temporarily brought her deceased daughter back from the dead. But the story took an even stranger turn when Emma began receiving reports from people around the world who claimed to have seen Rose Whitmore in their own family photographs. These modern sightings all shared certain characteristics. The figure appeared in family portraits, always as a young girl, always slightly transparent, and always with the same sad, pleading expression captured in the original 1895 photograph. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a psychologist who specialized in grief counseling, became interested in the case after hearing about these contemporary sightings. Her research revealed that all of the families reporting Rose's appearance had recently lost a child, and in each case the grieving parents had been struggling to accept their loss. "What we're seeing," Dr. Walsh explained, "appears to be a form of collective manifestation triggered by intense grief. Rose Whitmore has somehow become a symbol of all children who die too young, appearing to comfort other grieving families and to remind them that love transcends death." The modern sightings of Rose were documented by Dr. Walsh in a comprehensive study that spanned 5 years and included over 200 families from 30 countries. In each case, Rose appeared in family photographs taken during periods of intense grief, always as a comforting presence, always with the same gentle smile captured in the original Whitmore family portrait. One of the most compelling contemporary cases involved the Martinez family from Phoenix, Arizona. Their daughter Sophia had died of leukemia at the age of 8, and the family was struggling to cope with their loss. During Sophia's memorial service, they had taken a family photograph to commemorate their daughter's life. When they developed the film, They were shocked to see an additional figure in the image, a young girl standing behind Sophia's empty chair, her hand resting gently on the back of the seat. "We didn't recognize her at first," Sophia's mother, Maria, explained. "But when we saw the Whitmore family photograph online, we knew immediately that it was the same child. She had the same sad eyes, the same gentle expression. It was as if she had come to our daughter's memorial to let us know that Sophia wasn't alone." The Martinez family's photograph was analyzed by the same team that had examined the original Whitmore image. The results were identical. The mysterious figure showed the same selective fading pattern, the same molecular breakdown of the photographic emulsion, the same impossible presence of someone who shouldn't be there. Emma's investigation also revealed that the fading process in the original Whitmore photograph was accelerating. Digital scans taken at 6-month intervals showed that Rose's image was becoming more transparent at an alarming rate. At the current pace of deterioration, she would completely disappear from the photograph within 5 years. This discovery prompted Emma to take drastic action. Working with a team of conservators and digital imaging specialists, she began a race against time to preserve Rose's image before it vanished forever. Using the most advanced photographic restoration techniques available, they created a series of enhanced images that captured every detail of Rose's appearance. But as they worked to preserve the image, something unexpected happened. The more attention they paid to Rose's figure, the more solid she seemed to become. It was as if the act of observation and documentation was somehow strengthening her presence in the photograph. Dr. Robert Kim, a quantum physicist who had been following the case, proposed a startling explanation for this phenomenon. According to quantum mechanics, the act of observation could influence the behavior of subatomic particles. Dr. Kim suggested that consciousness itself might be playing a role in determining whether Rose continued to exist in the photograph. "What we're dealing with here," Dr. Kim explained, "may be a macroscopic example of quantum consciousness effects. The collective attention and emotional investment of the observers may be literally preventing Rose from fading away. In essence, our belief in her existence is making her more real." To test this theory, Dr. Kim arranged for the photograph to be displayed in a specially designed viewing chamber, where the number of observers and their emotional responses could be carefully monitored. The results were remarkable. When large numbers of people viewed the photograph with strong emotional reactions, Rose's image became noticeably more solid and defined. When the photograph was left unobserved for extended periods, the fading process resumed. This discovery led to an unprecedented experiment in collective consciousness. Emma organized a global viewing event where people around the world were invited to look at digital copies of the Whitmore family photograph simultaneously while focusing their thoughts on Rose and their own memories of lost loved ones. The event, which took place on December 25, 2019, exactly 124 years after the original photograph was taken, involved over 100,000 participants from 50 countries. The results exceeded everyone's expectations. Not only did Rose's image become completely solid and clear during the viewing event, but participants reported seeing movement within the photograph itself. "She waved at me," reported Sarah Chen, a participant from Vancouver. "I was looking at the photograph on my computer screen, thinking about my own daughter who died in infancy, and suddenly Rose turned her head and waved directly at me. It was as if she knew I was there, as if she was trying to comfort me." Similar reports came from participants around the world. Rose was seen smiling, nodding, and even appearing to mouth words of comfort to those who were grieving. The photograph had become more than just a static image. It had become a living connection between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. The global viewing event also had an unexpected side effect. In the days following the experiment, Emma began receiving reports of Rose appearing in new locations around the world. She was seen in hospitals, comforting dying children, in funeral homes providing solace to grieving families, and in homes where parents were struggling to cope with the loss of a child. These modern manifestations of Rose were different from her appearance in photographs. Witnesses described her as fully solid and real, able to speak and interact with the living. But her message was always the same, that love transcends death, that families are reunited in the afterlife, and that no child is ever truly lost. Dr. Walsh documented dozens of these encounters in her follow-up research. In each case, Rose's appearance had a profound healing effect on the grieving families. Children who had been traumatized by the death of a sibling found peace after encountering Rose. Parents who had been consumed by guilt and despair discovered hope and the strength to continue living. Rose has become something more than just the spirit of one deceased child, Dr. Walsh observed. She has evolved into a universal symbol of hope for all families who have lost children. Her presence reminds us that death is not the end of love, but simply a transformation of the way we connect with those we care about. The Whitmore family photograph continued to evolve in ways that defied explanation. New figures began appearing in the background of the image, other children who had died young, all gathered around Rose as if she had become their leader and protector. The dining room scene had transformed into a gathering place for lost souls, a visual representation of the belief that all children who die too young are eventually reunited in a place of love and peace. But Emma's investigation revealed even more disturbing aspects of the Whitmore family history that had been carefully concealed for over a century. Hidden in the basement of the old Whitmore house, she discovered a secret room that had been sealed off since the family's departure in 1896. The room contained evidence of Catherine Whitmore's desperate attempts to communicate with her deceased daughter through seances and occult rituals. The room was filled with artifacts from the spiritualist movement that had been popular in the late 19th century. Crystal balls, tarot cards, Ouija boards, and books on communicating with the dead. But most disturbing of all was a collection of photographs that Catherine had taken in her attempts to capture Rose's spirit on film. These photographs, taken with a primitive camera in the sealed room, showed Catherine sitting alone at a small table, but with clear evidence of another presence. In some images, there were unexplained lights and shadows that seemed to form the outline of a child. In others, there appeared to be ectoplasmic manifestations, ghostly substances that spiritualists believed were evidence of spirit communication. Emma also found Catherine's detailed notes about her seances, written in increasingly erratic handwriting as her mental state deteriorated. The notes described successful communications with Rose, who allegedly provided information about the afterlife and expressed her desperate desire to return to her family. Rose tells me that the boundary between life and death is not as solid as we believe, Catherine had written. She says that love can create bridges between the worlds, allowing the dead to visit the living when the need is great enough. She begs me to find a way to bring her back permanently, to give her a chance to live the life that was stolen from her. The notes also revealed that Catherine had been experimenting with increasingly dangerous occult practices in her attempts to manifest Rose physically. She had consulted with several mediums and spiritualists, each of whom had warned her about the risks of trying to bring the dead back to life. Madame Petrova came to the house today, Catherine wrote in one entry. She says that what I'm attempting is dangerous, that forcing a spirit to manifest physically can tear holes in the fabric of reality itself. But I don't care about the risks. I would tear apart the very heavens themselves if it meant holding my daughter in my arms again. Emma's discovery of Catherine's occult activities provided a new perspective on the events of 1895. It suggested that Rose's manifestation in the family photograph was not a spontaneous occurrence, but the result of months of deliberate attempts to bring her back from the dead. The investigation also revealed that Catherine's experiments had attracted the attention of other supernatural entities. Several of the spiritualists she had consulted reported sensing malevolent presences in the Whitmore house, beings that had been drawn by the spiritual energy Catherine was generating in her attempts to contact Rose. Mrs. Whitmore has opened a doorway that should have remained closed, wrote Madame Petrova in a letter to a colleague. The house is filled with spirits now, not just her daughter, but others who have been attracted by the breach she has created. I fear that her love for her child may have unleashed forces that she cannot control. This revelation cast the Whitmore family photograph in an entirely new light. The image was not just a record of Rose's manifestation, but potentially evidence of a supernatural event that had torn a hole in the barrier between life and death. Emma's research team began using advanced electromagnetic detection equipment to study the photograph, looking for signs of unusual energy patterns that might support this theory. Their findings were startling. The photograph emitted low-level electromagnetic radiation that pulsed in patterns that seemed to correspond to human brainwave activity. Dr. Patricia Vance, a neurologist who joined the research team, made an even more remarkable discovery. When she analyzed the electromagnetic patterns emitted by the photograph, she found that they matched the brainwave signatures associated with childhood consciousness. What we're seeing, Dr. Vance explained, appears to be the electromagnetic signature of a child's mind, somehow embedded in the photographic emulsion. It's as if Rose's consciousness has been preserved in the image itself, continuing to exist and think and feel, even though her physical body died over a century ago. This discovery led to an extraordinary experiment. Using sensitive brain-computer interface technology, Dr. Vance attempted to establish direct communication with the consciousness embedded in the photograph. The results were both fascinating and deeply disturbing. Through the brain-computer interface, the research team was able to detect what appeared to be coherent thoughts and emotions emanating from the photograph. The patterns suggested a child's consciousness that was aware of its surroundings but confused about its situation. "Hello?" was the first clear message they received. "Is someone there? I've been waiting so long for someone to talk to me. Mama used to talk to me, but she went away. Are you my new mama?" The communication sessions that followed revealed a consciousness that had been trapped in the photograph for over a century, aware but isolated, watching the world change around her but unable to interact with it, except through the rare moments when someone with sufficient psychic sensitivity noticed her presence. "I can see everything," Rose communicated through the interface. "I watch the people who come to look at my picture. Some of them are sad, like Mama was. I try to help them feel better, but most of them can't see me. Only the really sad ones can see me, the ones who miss their children like Mama missed me." The communication sessions also revealed that Rose was not alone in the photograph. She described other children who had joined her over the years, spirits who had been drawn to her presence and had found refuge in the strange dimensional space that the photograph represented. "There are lots of us here now," Rose explained. "Children who died too young, who couldn't find their way to the light. We take care of each other and we try to help the living people who are sad. It's not a bad place, but I miss my family. I wish I could see them again." Emma's team made the decision to attempt something that had never been tried before, using the brain-computer interface to help Rose and the other trapped spirits find their way to whatever came after death. Working with religious leaders from various faiths, they organized a ceremony designed to guide the spirits toward the light. The ceremony took place on March 3, 2020, exactly 124 years after Catherine Whitmore's death. As the religious leaders offered prayers and guidance, the research team monitored the electromagnetic activity in the photograph. What they observed was unlike anything they had ever seen. The electromagnetic patterns began to shift and change, becoming more complex and organized. Through the brain-computer interface, they could sense Rose's excitement and anticipation as she became aware of new possibilities opening up before her. "I can see them," Rose communicated. "Mama is here, and Papa, and all my brothers and sisters. They're waiting for me. They're calling me home. Thank you for helping me find them. Thank you for remembering me." As the ceremony continued, the electromagnetic activity in the photograph gradually diminished. The other trapped spirits began to leave as well, each finding their own path to whatever awaited them beyond death. By the end of the ceremony, the photograph was electromagnetically silent for the first time since Emma had begun studying it, but the most remarkable change was visible to the naked eye. Rose's image in the photograph had stopped fading. Instead, it had become completely solid and clear, but with a crucial difference. She was no longer looking at the camera with sad, pleading eyes. Instead, she was looking upward with an expression of joy and anticipation, as if she could see something wonderful just beyond the frame of the image. The ceremony had not erased Rose from the photograph, but it had transformed her presence from that of a trapped spirit to that of a soul at peace. The image now served as a record of her moment of liberation, the instant when she had finally found her way back to her family. However, Emma's investigation was far from over. In the weeks following the ceremony, she began receiving reports of new phenomena associated with the photograph. Visitors to the Historical Society reported that the image seemed to glow with a warm, comforting light, and many claimed to feel a sense of peace and healing when viewing it. More significantly, Families who had lost children began reporting that their own family photographs were showing similar changes. Images that had previously shown empty spaces where deceased children should have been were now displaying faint but visible figures of their lost loved ones. Dr. Walsh expanded her research to include these new manifestations, documenting over 500 cases of what she termed healing photographs, family images that had been transformed by the same mysterious process that had affected the Whitmore family portrait. What we're witnessing, Dr. Walsh explained, appears to be a ripple effect. Rose's liberation from the photograph has somehow created a pathway for other trapped spirits to find their way home. The Whitmore photograph has become a beacon, guiding lost souls back to their families. The phenomenon wasn't limited to photographs. Emma received reports from around the world of children appearing to their grieving families in dreams, offering comfort and closure. Support groups for bereaved parents reported unprecedented levels of healing and acceptance among their members. Dr. Kim's quantum consciousness research took on new dimensions as he studied the global effects of Rose's liberation. His measurements detected subtle but measurable changes in the electromagnetic field of the Earth itself, as if the planet's consciousness had been somehow altered by the events at the Historical Society. We may be witnessing the first documented case of consciousness affecting reality on a global scale, Dr. Kim observed. The collective grief and love of millions of bereaved parents, focused through Rose's story, may have actually changed the fundamental structure of reality itself. Emma's investigation also revealed that the Whitmore family's descendants had been experiencing their own miraculous encounters. Thomas Whitmore's great-great-grandson, living in Australia, reported that he had begun having vivid dreams about a sister he had never known existed. In these dreams, Rose appeared as she would have looked as an adult, thanking him for helping her find her way home. Margaret Whitmore's descendant in England had a similar experience, describing encounters with Rose during meditation sessions where the spirit expressed gratitude for the family's love and forgiveness for the pain her manifestation had caused. Even more remarkably, descendants of the other Whitmore children reported receiving messages from Rose, delivered through various means, dreams, meditation, and even direct spiritual encounters. In each case, Rose's message was the same. She was finally at peace, reunited with her family, and grateful for the love that had sustained her through her long journey. The Whitmore house itself underwent a dramatic transformation following Rose's liberation. The new owners, a young family with 3 children, reported that the oppressive atmosphere that had plagued the property for over a century had completely lifted. The dining room, which had been the center of supernatural activity for generations, now felt warm and welcoming. "It's as if the house has been cleansed," the mother, Sarah Patterson, explained. "My children love playing in the dining room now. They say it feels happy there, like a place where a family was once very loved." Emma's research team conducted extensive electromagnetic surveys of the house and found no trace of the unusual energy patterns that had been detected for decades. The property had been completely purified by Rose's departure. But perhaps the most significant development was the establishment of the Rose Whitmore Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to helping families cope with the loss of children. The foundation, funded by donations from people around the world who had been touched by Rose's story, provided counseling services, support groups, and research into the nature of consciousness and survival after death. The Foundation's headquarters were located in a building adjacent to the Riverside Historical Society, where the original Whitmore family photograph remained on permanent display. The image had become a pilgrimage site for grieving families, a place where they could find hope and healing in the knowledge that love truly was stronger than death. Dr. Walsh served as the Foundation's chief psychologist, using the insights gained from studying Rose's case to develop new therapeutic approaches for bereaved parents. Her methods, which incorporated elements of consciousness research and spiritual healing, showed remarkable success rates in helping families process their grief and find meaning in their loss. Rose has taught us that death is not the end of our relationships with our loved ones, Dr. Walsh explained. It's simply a transformation of those relationships. By understanding this truth, families can begin to heal in ways that traditional therapy alone cannot achieve. The Foundation also sponsored ongoing research into consciousness and survival after death, funding studies at universities around the world. The Whitmore case had opened new frontiers in scientific understanding, challenging materialist assumptions about the nature of reality and consciousness. Dr. Vance's brain-computer interface research had evolved into a comprehensive program studying the electromagnetic signatures of consciousness. Her work suggested that human awareness might be far more complex and enduring than previously thought, with implications that extended far beyond the paranormal. We're beginning to understand that consciousness may be a fundamental property of the universe, Dr. Vance explained. The Whitmore case has shown us that under certain conditions, consciousness can persist and even manifest in ways that challenge our basic assumptions about life and death. The research conducted at the Foundation had attracted attention from scientists around the world, leading to collaborations with institutions in dozens of countries. The study of consciousness and its relationship to physical reality had become one of the most active areas of scientific research, with the Whitmore photograph serving as a central piece of evidence. Dr. Helena Rodriguez, a quantum physicist from the University of Barcelona, had joined the research team to study the quantum mechanical properties of consciousness. Her work suggested that the human mind might operate according to quantum principles, allowing for phenomena like telepathy, precognition, and survival after death. The Whitmore case provides us with a unique opportunity to study consciousness in isolation from the physical brain, Dr. Rodriguez explained. By analyzing the electromagnetic patterns preserved in the photograph, we can begin to understand how consciousness might exist independently of matter. Her research had revealed that the electromagnetic signatures embedded in the photograph showed characteristics consistent with quantum entanglement, a phenomenon where particles remain connected across vast distances. This suggested that Rose's consciousness might have been entangled with her family members, allowing her to maintain a connection with them even after death. The implications of this research extended far beyond the Whitmore case. If consciousness could indeed exist independently of the physical brain and maintain quantum-entangled connections with other minds, it would revolutionize our understanding of human nature and the possibility of life after death. Dr. Marcus Thompson, a philosopher of science from Oxford University, had become interested in the case because of its implications for our understanding of personal identity and the nature of the self. His analysis of Rose's communications through the brain-computer interface had revealed a consistent personality and set of memories that had remained stable over more than a century. What we're seeing with Rose Whitmore, Dr. Thompson explained, is evidence that personal identity, the sense of being a unique individual with a continuous stream of consciousness, can persist even after the death of the physical body. This challenges fundamental assumptions about the nature of the self and what it means to be human. Dr. Thompson's work had attracted attention from philosophers and theologians around the world, leading to new discussions about the nature of the soul and the possibility of personal survival after death. The Whitmore case had become a focal point for debates about consciousness, identity, and the meaning of existence. Meanwhile, Emma's investigation had uncovered additional historical documents that shed new light on the Whitmore family's experiences. In the archives of Harvard University, she discovered correspondence between Jonathan Whitmore and William James, the famous psychologist and philosopher who had been one of the founders of the American Society for Psychical Research. The letters revealed that Jonathan had contacted James in desperation, seeking help for his wife's condition. James had been intrigued by the case and had planned to visit the Whitmore house to investigate the phenomena firsthand. However, Catherine's death had occurred before James could make the trip. "I am deeply saddened to learn of Mrs. Whitmore's passing," James had written to Jonathan. Her case represented a unique opportunity to study the relationship between consciousness and physical reality. The photograph you described would have been invaluable evidence for our understanding of survival after death. I hope that someday science will advance to the point where such phenomena can be properly studied and understood. James's interest in the case had led him to correspond with other researchers who were studying similar phenomena. Emma discovered a network of scientists and philosophers from the late 19th and early 20th centuries who had been investigating cases of apparent survival after death, using the Whitmore case as a reference point for their work. This historical context helped Emma understand that the Whitmore photograph was not an isolated anomaly, but part of a larger pattern of phenomena that had been documented by serious researchers for over a century. The case had influenced the development of psychical research and had contributed to early theories about the nature of consciousness and its relationship to physical reality. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a historian of science from Cambridge University, had joined Emma's research team to study the historical context of the Whitmore case. Her work revealed that the late 19th century had been a period of intense interest in psychical phenomena, with many prominent scientists and intellectuals investigating reports of ghosts, telepathy, and survival after death. The Whitmore case occurred during a unique period in history, Dr. Mitchell explained. The rapid advancement of science and technology had created a sense that anything was possible, while traditional religious beliefs were being challenged by new discoveries. This created an intellectual climate that was open to investigating phenomena that might seem impossible today. Dr. Mitchell's research had revealed that many of the scientific instruments and techniques used to study the Whitmore photograph had their origins in the psychical research of the late 19th century. The electromagnetic detection equipment, brain-computer interfaces, and quantum consciousness theories all had roots in the work of early psychical researchers. The historical perspective provided by Dr. Mitchell's work helped the research team understand that they were part of a long tradition of scientists who had been investigating the mysteries of consciousness and survival after death. The Whitmore case represented not just a modern scientific discovery, but the culmination of over a century of research into the nature of human consciousness. As Emma's investigation entered its 6th year, new developments continued to emerge that deepened the mystery surrounding the Whitmore family photograph. The most significant of these was the discovery of additional photographs in private collections around the world that showed similar anomalies to the Whitmore image. Dr. Harrison, the forensic photographer who had first analyzed the Whitmore photograph, had been contacted by collectors and museums who had discovered similar images in their holdings. These photographs, dating from the late 19th and early 20th centuries, all showed figures that appeared to be fading or manifesting in ways that defied conventional explanation. One particularly striking example was found in the collection of the Smithsonian Institution. The photograph, taken in 1898, showed a family gathering in their parlor, but one of the children appeared to be translucent, just like Rose in the Whitmore photograph. When researchers investigated the history of the family, they discovered that the translucent child had died of scarlet fever just months before the photograph was taken. Another similar image was discovered in a private collection in England. This photograph, dating from 1902, showed a wedding party, but the bride's deceased sister appeared to be standing behind the other bridesmaids, her image faint but clearly visible. The bride's diary, found with the photograph, described her desperate wish that her sister could have been present for the wedding. These discoveries suggested that the Whitmore photograph was not unique, but part of a larger phenomenon that had occurred during a specific period in history when the boundaries between life and death seemed to be more permeable than usual. Dr. Kim's quantum consciousness research had expanded to include analysis of these additional photographs. His findings revealed that all of the images showed similar electromagnetic signatures to the Whitmore photograph, suggesting that they had all been created through the same mysterious process. What we're seeing, Dr. Kim explained, appears to be evidence of a period in history when the collective human consciousness was more open to communication with the deceased. The rapid social and technological changes of the late 19th century may have created conditions that allowed for these manifestations to occur. Dr. Kim's research had also revealed that the electromagnetic signatures embedded in these photographs were not random, but followed specific patterns that seemed to be related to the emotional state of the living family members at the time the photographs were taken. The stronger the grief and love felt by the family, the more solid and clear the manifestation appeared in the resulting image. This discovery led to a new understanding of the relationship between consciousness and physical reality. It suggested that intense emotions, particularly those related to love and loss, might have the power to influence the physical world in ways that science was only beginning to understand. Emma's investigation had also revealed that the phenomenon was not limited to the late 19th and early 20th centuries. She had begun receiving reports of similar manifestations in modern digital photographs, suggesting that the same forces that had created the Whitmore photograph were still active today. One particularly compelling modern case involved a family in Japan whose young son had died in a car accident. When they reviewed the digital photographs taken at his funeral, they discovered that he appeared to be standing with the family in several of the images, his figure faint but clearly recognizable. Another case involved a family in Brazil whose daughter had died of cancer. Their digital family photographs taken in the months following her death showed her appearing with increasing frequency and clarity, as if she was gradually learning how to manifest in the images. These modern cases suggested that the ability to manifest in photographs was not dependent on the specific technology of the Victorian era, but was instead a fundamental property of consciousness that could express itself through any medium capable of capturing images. Dr. Vance's brain-computer interface research had evolved to include studies of these modern manifestations. Her work revealed that the electromagnetic signatures associated with the digital manifestations were identical to those found in the historical photographs, confirming that the same phenomenon was occurring across different time periods and technologies. What we're discovering, Dr. Vance explained, is that consciousness appears to be capable of influencing any system that processes information, whether it's a chemical photographic emulsion or a digital camera sensor. The medium doesn't matter. What matters is the emotional intensity of the observers and their relationship to the deceased. The implications of this research were staggering. If consciousness could indeed influence information processing systems, it suggested that the human mind might be capable of affecting a wide range of technologies in ways that had never been imagined. Hemmer's investigation had also led to the discovery of historical accounts of similar phenomena, dating back centuries before the invention of photography. Medieval manuscripts described instances of deceased family members appearing in painted portraits, and ancient texts spoke of spirits manifesting in mirrors and other reflective surfaces. These historical accounts suggested that the phenomenon observed in the Whitmore photograph was not new, but was instead a manifestation of forces that had been active throughout human history. The invention of photography had simply provided a new medium through which these forces could express themselves. Dr. Mitchell's historical research had uncovered evidence that many famous artists throughout history had claimed to paint portraits of deceased individuals who had appeared to them during the creative process. These accounts had typically been dismissed as artistic license or mental illness, but in light of the Whitmore case, they took on new significance. What we're beginning to understand, Dr. Mitchell explained, is that the boundary between life and death may be far more permeable than we have traditionally believed. Throughout history, there have been individuals who were sensitive enough to perceive and record these manifestations, but it's only now that we have the scientific tools to study them properly. The Rose Whitmore Foundation had become a center for research into these historical manifestations, collecting accounts and artifacts from around the world that documented similar phenomena. The Foundation's archives had grown to include thousands of photographs, paintings, and written accounts that provided evidence of consciousness surviving death and finding ways to communicate with the living. Dr. Walsh's therapeutic work had also evolved to incorporate these historical perspectives. She had developed new counseling techniques that helped grieving families understand that their experiences of contact with deceased loved ones were part of a long tradition of human experience that extended back thousands of years. By understanding that these experiences are normal and natural, Dr. Walsh explained, families can begin to heal without feeling that they are losing their sanity or betraying their rational beliefs. The evidence shows that love truly does transcend death, and that our relationships with our loved ones continue in ways that we are only beginning to understand. The Foundation's work had attracted attention from religious leaders around the world, many of whom saw the research as providing scientific validation for their spiritual beliefs about life after death. The Foundation had established partnerships with religious organizations from various faiths, working together to provide comfort and support to grieving families. The global impact of the Whitmore case had extended far beyond the scientific and therapeutic communities. Artists, writers, and filmmakers had drawn inspiration from Rose's story, creating works that explored themes of love, loss, and the possibility of life after death. Museums around the world had organized exhibitions featuring the Whitmore photograph and related artifacts, drawing millions of visitors who came to learn about the mystery of the fading child. The photograph had also become a symbol of hope for social movements focused on children's rights and welfare. Organizations working to protect children from abuse, neglect, and exploitation had adopted Rose's image as a reminder that every child deserves to be loved and remembered, even after death. Educational institutions had incorporated the Whitmore case into their curricula, using it as a starting point for discussions about the nature of consciousness, the scientific method, and the importance of keeping an open mind when confronted with phenomena that challenge conventional understanding. The case had also influenced public policy in some countries, leading to increased funding for research into consciousness studies and the development of new support services for bereaved families. Several governments had established committees to investigate reports of paranormal phenomena, recognizing that such experiences were far more common than previously thought. Emma's investigation had revealed that the Whitmore photograph represented more than just a single mysterious image. It was a window into a fundamental aspect of human existence that had been largely ignored by mainstream science. The case had demonstrated that consciousness was far more complex and enduring than most people realized, and that the bonds between family members could transcend even death itself. The research conducted over the course of Emma's investigation had produced a wealth of scientific data that would take decades to fully analyze and understand. The electromagnetic signatures embedded in the photograph, the quantum mechanical properties of consciousness, and the global effects of collective observation had all opened new avenues for scientific inquiry, but perhaps the most important discovery was not scientific at all. The Whitmore case had shown that love truly was the most powerful force in the universe, capable of creating miracles that defied explanation and bringing comfort to those who needed it most. Rose's journey from a fading image to a liberated spirit had demonstrated that no love was ever truly lost, and that families separated by death would eventually be reunited. Emma's final comprehensive report on the Whitmore family photograph and related phenomena, published 8 years after her initial discovery, concluded that the case represented the most significant evidence ever documented for the survival of consciousness after death and the transformative power of love. The report detailed not only the scientific findings, but also the profound impact that Rose's story and the related research had on millions of people around the world. The photograph had become more than just a historical artifact. It had evolved into a symbol of hope and healing for anyone who had experienced the loss of a loved one. The Whitmore family photograph and the related phenomena we have studied, Emma wrote, have taught us that love is indeed the most powerful force in the universe. It can transcend death, transform reality, and create miracles that challenge our understanding of what is possible. Rose Whitmore's journey from a fading image to a liberated spirit has shown us that no love is ever truly lost, and no family bond is ever truly broken. The photograph continues to attract visitors from around the world, each drawn by their own need for healing and hope. The image shows a Victorian family gathered around their dinner table, all 6 children present and accounted for. But now Rose's expression radiates peace and joy rather than sadness and longing. The dining room scene has become a window into eternity, a visual representation of the truth that families are forever and love never dies. Visitors often report feeling the presence of their own lost loved ones while viewing the photograph, as if Rose's liberation has created a permanent bridge between the world of the living and the realm of the eternal. Today, the Whitmore family photograph stands as one of the most important artifacts in human history, not because of its age or rarity, but because of what it represents. It is proof that consciousness survives death, that love transcends all boundaries, and that families separated by death are eventually reunited in a place where time has no meaning and love is all that matters. Rose Whitmore, the child who was never supposed to exist, who faded from reality only to return stronger than ever, has become an eternal guardian of hope for all who grieve. Her presence in the photograph, now radiant with peace and joy, serves as a constant reminder that death is not the end of our story, but simply the beginning of a new chapter in the eternal adventure of love. The 1895 family dinner photograph was perfect, just as Catherine Whitmore had always insisted. All of her children were there, gathered around the table, together for eternity. It just took the rest of the world more than a century to understand what a mother's love had known all along, that some bonds are truly unbreakable, some love truly eternal, and some families truly forever. In the end, the story of the fading child became a story of triumph, the triumph of love over death, of hope over despair, of light over darkness. Rose Whitmore's journey from a forgotten infant to a fading photograph to a liberated spirit had shown the world that miracles are real, that love never dies, and that somewhere, in a place beyond our understanding, all families are eventually reunited in perfect love and eternal peace. The photograph remains a testament to the power of love and a beacon of hope for all who have lost and all who grieve. And in Rose's joyful expression, captured forever in silver and light, we see the eternal promise that love conquers all, that families are forever, and that no one who is truly loved is ever truly lost. The legacy of the Whitmore family photograph continues to grow, inspiring new research, new hope, and new understanding of the deepest mysteries of human existence. In a world often divided by differences of belief and culture, Rose's story has united people in the universal experience of love and loss, reminding us all that in the end, love is what matters most, love is what endures, and love is what connects us all across the vast expanse of time and space. As the years pass and new generations discover Rose's story, the photograph continues to work its quiet miracle, bringing comfort to the grieving, hope to the despairing, and proof to the doubting that love truly is stronger than death. The fading child who once threatened to disappear from history has instead become immortal, her gentle presence an eternal reminder that some things in this universe are more powerful than time, more enduring than matter, and more real than anything we can see or touch. The Whitmore family photograph stands not just as a record of one family's love, but as a testament to the love that binds all families, all hearts, all souls together in the great tapestry of existence. And in that truth, in that eternal promise, we find not just comfort for our grief, but hope for our future, and faith in the ultimate triumph of love over all the forces that would seek to divide us.